This video is looking at The Explorer's Daughter by Kari Herbert as part of the IGCSE Spec A tasks. Now, what you'll be asked to do with this extract is first of all write a 12 marker on it. So that's looking at how the writer uses language and structure in order to engage the reader in some way. Now, they might give you some direction in terms of engaging the reader in terms of creating tension or presenting a certain aspect of it. They might just leave it open in terms of how does it make it interesting, how does it make it engaging, how does it make it, how do they kind of, basically anything that hooks in. Um, what you're best doing for the 12 marker is really preparing your thoughts and your thinking and your kind of ways of approaching the text before the exam. Not that you're memorizing a pre-prepared answer, but that you are familiar enough with the text that you are not kind of scratching around and kind of trying to invent ideas from scratch. The more you do in terms of the 12 marker, the more it's going to increase your familiarity, which is going to make it really useful for you for the 22 marker, where you have to obviously compare this extract with an unseen extract on a related idea or theme. So what we're going to do is go through with both the 12 marker and the 22 marker in mind. And bearing in mind that you can't actually memorize all of this annotation, everything, we're looking as much at the kind of things you can say as anything else. So as I kind of annotate through, I'm going to just kind of indicate what I'm talking about. So first of all, if you don't know what a narwhal looks like, go and look up a picture of one. Okay, they're like kind of, whales with a great big horn. Um, and the whole idea of this, that Herbert is coming at it from two perspectives, both a kind of professional writer who's presenting the kind of research, the background, the more objective information with a very emotive, with a very personal kind of slightly more subjective view of this. So we have this kind of background material just setting out exactly where we are and her experience of watching the hunt for the narwhal, a toothed whale, what she thought and felt. I'd be generally kind of picking up on this point. I mean, I've just put it in the top to say long multi-clause sentences, building tension and echo the grace of the narwhal. So we've got quite a lot of sort of magical stuff going on in this first paragraph. And it's looking at this idea of the symbiotic relationship between the narwhals and the hunters. Now, symbiosis is where, both are equally dependent on each other. And part of the dilemma at the heart of this is that she wants the narwhal to escape because it's a beautiful, majestic creature, but also she wants the people to survive because actually hunting the narwhal, getting the resources one narwhal provides, is absolutely key to the Inuit people. So, looking at that kind of tension, that conflict, you have a time reference to start off with, 2 hours after the last of the hunters. So, that kind of timing is showing that there's this constant process and relationship. Okay, the hunters return and eat, and then the narwhal are back. So, this is kind of an ongoing process. They're spotted again, this time very close. So, we've got that proximity of the people and the animals. And straight away, that idea of the tension and the interaction between the two of them. Within an hour, even those of us on shore could see the plumes of spray. So we got imagery which is beautiful. So a plume is normally that kind of spray of feathers that you get on a bird, but instead it's like the kind of narwhals are decorated with this water. So metaphorical plumes, kind of this time made of spray. And the metaphor catching the light, spectral play of colour. So this kind of ghostly, this intangible, glorious kind of display. The idea of using it as a play kind of evokes ideas of performance. It evokes ideas of kind of mischievousness, of kind of fun. This sort of spectacle of the narwhals and the beauty of them. The large pods circled, often looking as they were going to merge, slowly, methodically passing each other. So the idea of, their movement seems to be planned, strategic, slow, and graceful. And you're getting very much this idea of two competing equal opponents. And, the idea that these hunts, these battles almost could go either way. The people on the shore are more chaotic. So we have this kind of human activity as scrambling with all the connotations of to scramble. So slightly more frantic, slightly less organized. And they are looking out across the glittering kingdom. So, the sparkling ocean. Again, you've got lots of um, vocabulary here, lots of kind of imagery which is taken from that kind of semantic field of beauty or fairy tales, or generally kind of implying that the narwhal are really special and magical. So they are a glittering kingdom. It makes her take a sharp intake of breath, so the physical effect on her. The hunters are dotted, maybe as opposed to, the methodical movement of the whales. Again, this idea of people getting in position or things getting in position. Evening light turning butter gold, so there's a richness to it. And again, the gold and the glittering, the spectral play of colour, idea of the beauty associated with the narwhal. Um, Glinting off man and whale, so there structurally the two are aligned together. You've not got one that's going to obviously win, one that's obviously going to be a victim. Um, you have the kind of lone hunter and the observers. So, it looks as if they're close enough to touch the narwhal. Again, that idea of the proximity, the closeness, the kind of intimacy of it all. Yet they never move. Distances are deceptive. So again, that idea of kind of magic and fairy tale. And I fell to wondering if the narwhal existed at all, or instead mischievous tricks of the shifting light. So the butter gold light, the shifting light. I'm saying here, it's establishing the Arctic here as being a place of magic and beauty and mystery. Okay, just going to take that down a little bit so we can carry on. Stick the annotation back on. You then get a tone change in terms of the structure, and this carries on doing it. It alternates um, between the story of the hunt and the more factual side of things. Okay, so we then move to a more sort of scientific, more kind of biology, geography based idea where we're getting some facts there. And, also she's kind of again loading a little bit of the language. The hunters of Thule fortunate to witness. And this article never loses sight of the idea that the Inuit view their relationship with the narwhal as a privilege. They are lucky enough. This is not something that they're taking advantage of. This is something that is necessary. So we then move on, we pick up on that kind of luck or the good fortune, the privilege, because the narwhal is an essential contributor to the survival of the hunters. Okay. Again, we've got factual ideas, the source of vitamin C, the history, and the listing of all of the things that the narwhal provides: light, heat, meat, needs diet, provides sustenance for man and dogs. The statistics to allow you to see how important it is that one narwhal will feed a team of dogs for an entire month, and dogs are really essential for transport, for movement, for kind of the way of life. So the tusk can be used as a weapon and handles. And you've got this kind of mixture of the facts, of the listing, the cumulative effect of, look at all these things this animal can provide. And the little parenthesis, the brackets, is a practical note. Okay. Harpoons, handles, hunting, and aligning this idea of kind of the ancient way of life, the tradition that these two, the people and the hunters, the people and the hunters and the narwhals as the hunted, are basically kind of intertwined through the centuries. It kind of speculates on, well, what is the horn? for. And it kind of shows a familiarity with the animals. You know, they're particularly fond of Arctic halibut. A particular predilection is a particular fondness. And the fact that they've been, closely observed. So we get this feeling that the narwhal, the use of it is it's approached holistically. They deal with the whole animal. And we move into a slightly more colloquial, slightly more kind of informal tone. We're saying, look, this is what we do, this is what happens with this. I would be picking up in this paragraph the listing, the factual side of it, the kind of cumulative effect, the building up effect of all of this information. It's all showing how important the narwhal is, that this isn't just hunting for hunting's sake. This is this relationship between everything that has gone on for centuries. Then we move back to the idea of the hunt, okay, and that kind of more tense idea. We have kind of almost distinct the kind of male female groups. The women are on the lookout, the men are in the boats. We've got the longer sentences kind of describing the action of the women spinning round, small gasp, jump, one of the women saw. The idea that they are both individual and also a collective group, that everybody is looking out for everybody else. You know, the closeness of, the couples and the importance of what's going on. It was crucial, that, assertion, that statement. And the kind of dash there structure wise saying, well, why is it so important? Well, they need it, and it provides a potential source of income, that they can actually sell it. And you get the idea that, this is a community as well. This isn't something where somebody's going to go hungry. There is that idea of being lucky, being privileged, being fortunate. That short sentence contrasting there, bringing the focus back onto look at the water, right? It was like a vast waterborne game, again, like a net, picking up on that dotted before picking up on the slow, methodical kind of movement of the narwhal. You're kind of got these emotional side of things, really setting these two up as even, it's an equal battle. And line 41, they are intelligent creatures, so respect for the animal. Their senses are keen, so sharp. They can talk to one another underwater. The kind of two worlds are paralleling each other, if you like. The one is waiting for the other to make a move and vice versa. Then we look at from line 45 onwards, the kind of pace picks up. There is this moment of tension. You get the kind of implied size, the juxtaposition of size of hunter, size of narwhal. He gently picked up his harpoon. The idea that there is a respect and a control even in the moment of hunting, right? And the conflict, the dichotomy, if you want to use the word dichotomy, means the kind of tension between what Herbert wants to happen in terms of she wants the man to eat, but she also wants the beautiful animal to survive. And you get the kind of balancing there. That split second, my heart leapt, the metaphor for both hunter and narwhal. She urges the man on, but also, my heart also urged the narwhal. So that repetition of that verb, she doesn't know who she wants to win. The idea that there's kind of respect and admiration. She wants this kind of triple dive, leave, survive. This is a matter of survival for both hunter and hunted at this point. So you can look at the kind of way that's linguistically balanced in that paragraph. She does maybe kind of spend more time thinking of the hunter, right? So you might kind of say, there is a slight implicit bias there for her. She acknowledges the difficulty. So this dilemma stayed with me. She can't forget or resolve it. This is a big, big thing about the community, right? And she talks then about the idea of the wider kind of perception of this in the outside world, because this is also kind of a big um, issue that this section in yellow, there really was kind of huge public outcry several years ago because people were filmed bludgeoning kind of baby seals to death for their fur and resources. Now this was not the Inuit, but lots of people kind of just have that memory of the blood on the ice because obviously that red against the white, and the idea that these were kind of, young animals and everything. There were some horrific pictures in the media. And, she's trying to explain that there is the harshness of the life and, the need to balance the hunters with the protection of the animals. That idea of sentimentality, meaning being ruled by emotion. Okay, that you kind of can't say, well, you can't kill any of the animals because how would people eat? How would people live? She uses that kind of quotation of those questions to show how much she is directly challenged over and over again, that repetition kind of maybe hinting a slight aggression behind that challenge from the people who have seen those images in the media, right? If you look at her use of pronouns here, it's interesting that she's, I I understand hunters and their families. She's not saying, hunters and our families. So she's not directly aligning herself with the Inuit anymore. She says, I know that one cannot afford to be sentimental. She feels that she's on the edge of these questions. And yet, when it comes down to it, she's kind of aligning herself maybe more with the Western world. The media bombarded us. The Inuit do not, nor do they kill for sport. Okay. We demand the animals are protected. So there's maybe kind of clues in terms of her um, experience in the wider world and how she is now approaching things. Um, you can see that there is this kind of objective and logical, factual sort of justification. And she ends on this strong assertion, okay, that hunting is absolutely necessary. There's no doubt about that. It is an absolute necessity. That is clear, right? Um, you can just kind of pick up here, though, I've just put, quoting the question she's been asked personally. She knows she's a symbol of this problem, however she might be. Um, aligning herself with maybe the kind of wider world there. And, although her tone is factual and clear, the long sentences, they build up the complexity of the issue. So if you're, writing about this, then obviously for the 12 marker, the engagement is coming from the tension and the portrayal of the kind of magical storyline, building up that idea of by the time we get to the hunter going for the narwhal, we've also appreciated that these are beautiful, magical, spectacular creatures, but we know the kind of importance to both sides. The idea that you have the more emotional, more kind of emotive, more metaphorical description interspersed with the clearer, more factual rationale, the justification of why this is happening, the factual side of it, and that she builds up to really trying to explore the complexity, both factually and emotionally, of this issue without kind of ending on any um, kind of resolution other than, well, we need the hunting. So this is a dilemma that can't ever be reconciled. It has to be lived with. I hope that helps. Okay, thank you.